Hi, I'm Anna Elaine Richardson, welcoming you back to the Ministry of Justice. So, I thought it would be great if I took the whole aspect of the open door policy to another level. There's a lot of doubts, there's a lot of chatter, and what better way than to give you an opportunity to see what's happening behind the scenes here at the Ministry of Justice. This is being filmed from my office at 80 Illich Road. And I decided to not be in the administration building since actually January because I wanted to be closer to the team that is doing all the work for the staff of the ministry. And I'm going to take you on a tour. I want you to be able to see what is happening here within the HR sector of the Ministry of Justice, how the files or dossier per staff is made. And this is something that we never had before. I want to be able to introduce you to our SG and our acting head of our HR department. I should say that as acting SG and head of our HR department, Ms. Florence Marlin. I want you to be able to meet Ms. Saskia Thomas Solomon, who is the one that is dealing with what I like to call the golden ball, which is the calculations, because we need the calculations to be finalized in order for us to represent the entire function book, police law, and new salary scales of the police to the governor for this to be signed. As I said, there's a lot of doubt and concern about what's really happening, what's really taking so long to be able to get this done. It's meticulous work. Grace Marlin, as a consultant of the ministry, is the one that I'm going to show you next, who did all this work on these files, putting all the files together, and I'm going to give you an insight as to what all is found in a file. The body of any operation, any company is that of the personnel, and you need to be able to make sure that you know who your personnel are, and if they need something, you can quickly be able to present it to them. So I'm going to invite you now to come on a journey with me so you can see what's happening behind the scenes. So, welcome. Here we have all the files, and for the first time ever within the Ministry of Justice, there are actually dossier files for each and every member of staff of this ministry. And I just want to give you an insight or a view of what that looks like. So for example, as I said, you can all outline here the various departments, the names. This is what a file looks like now for a staff. I can't let you see the name on it, but I just want to express that, you know, a copy of ID. You have their LBAs, their whole history is now established here. And this is for every single agency within the Ministry of Justice. It was never in order before, now it is. And we have Grace Marlin, who's a consultant within the ministry that has been in service for us for the last couple of months, putting all of these files together. When an employee needs a job letter, I have been advised that they have had to wait months before receiving. Now they get it within a matter of days. Part of the intranet system that we've established for the ministry, they can apply or request for those documents online, and within days they receive it. This is a type of investment that has been put into the Ministry of Justice within this administration. From here, I'd like to take you over to introduce you to our acting SG, and she's also a part of the placement process, and she's also one who's working diligently and getting the placement letters out. Come with me. So, Ms. Marlin, can you give us some insight about what you're presently busy with?
Presently, I'm busy with the placement letters, and the information for the placement letters is derived via an Excel sheet that is produced by the departments. Each department would then indicate the history of the employee, so they would indicate what function they were doing, which date that function went into play, the scale, the amount of that scale, as well as the built up until 2023.
As far as we understand, Harvey Bay is pretty much our last. We do have some persons within other agencies, more or less, their situation is a little peculiar, so it's taking a little while for them to get their placement letters. But pretty much before this month is out, we can confirm that every single person will have their placement letters. Is there anything else you can tell us about your role and your responsibility and what this experience has been like for you?
This experience has been eye-opening in the sense of we have realized that a lot of information is not present or readily available. We had to go and search for this information because of the various complexities that we had pertaining to our personnel files. But however, we are now realizing that once we have that information, it's now an idea now to get it into the letters.
Speaking with staff who have received their letters and are expressing their concerns and information missing, how have you been dealing with those?
Well, we work directly with the department heads. They would then contact them because they are the ones that provided the information in the matrix. So once any incorrect information is noticed, they would then contact the department head. The department head would then send an email or give us a call, and then we would make the necessary corrections.
Great. One final point I'd like to bring up with you that I think some staff would want to know is when it comes to those moments where they have an objection, I know that we have some staff that are sending in these objections via email. They haven't heard from us yet. So is there anything that you can tell the staff about around when they can expect to receive a response?
Well, presently we are busy with the guidelines, and then that guidelines indicate the process, what it means, what does an objection means, what does a correction means. So we are busy with that guideline, and before the week is out, we will be providing that.
And we'll send that through the intranet.
Through the intranet,
so that
indeed.
They will know what they can do on their own in the meantime. But definitely we were going to get in touch with every staff. Every staff is going to be contacted and dealt with. We're just asking the patients because, as I mentioned several times before, this crew is a very small one dealing with a whole lot of agencies, a whole lot of people. So Saskia, an opportunity now, which is going to be a very rare one. Will you be able to walk the viewers through an opportunity of explanation as to what your task entails, how huge this undertaking is, and what it all requires for you to do?
We're talking about 13 years worth of data. The data starts, and I'm going to switch between a screen just for you to see, with what we call a payslip, because this is the actuals what an individual would have received at the time when they started service with the Ministry of Justice. Now we're talking about 700 plus employees that started back when we established in 10-10-10. And this goes back to date and continues, because this is not a process that stops this month or next month. It continues. So the calculations is one that has to lead back for that individual all the way back to 10-10-10. You can see in this Excel sheet, there's a personnel file for 10-10-10, 2011, 2012, 2013, and goes forward straight to 2023. The reason why that is because premiums and social premiums change each year. So each year we have different figures to deal with to make the necessary calculation of what it would have cost to have an individual placed in a particular function with a different salary scale at that point in time to calculate the necessary social premiums, the pension premiums, the taxes, etc., to have a full account of what it would have cost government if it was then. Because basically what we're doing is going back into time. We're going back into time on an individual basis, monitoring a person's career. Now I say that because if you look in the sheet, I'll just give an example. If someone was once a team leader and they went and they were promoted to chef reg team, as they call it, this happened from January and then in August, meaning that the salary point changes at that point in time. At the beginning of this initial process, I placed everyone in the sheet, and then I found out that they had to put an extra increment. That one increment across this group changed the end figure to $1 million guilders more. So that's how meticulous you have to be, because if you're one increment off, that's $1 million guilders we're talking about.
I mean, $1 million guilders that is due to the staff.
That is due to the staff, that it costs us to have put them in that function. The end figure of what is due to the staff goes between what it would have cost us and what they actually received. So there's two simultaneous processes occurring at the same time. The placement process, which is rectifying their history, their personal careers. And then we have to go through the process of getting the salary information, plugging it into a system and making it speak the same language. Why I say that is because salary information, as technology changes, has also experienced change. So from 2010, a different salary system was used up until 2013. 2014, a different salary system is used, and then there was changed in microdata, codes that were used. So then when you go into the system and you can't just call up one code what you're using today, because that wouldn't call up all the information. So at a certain point, we encountered that as a challenge where we did a query and says, okay, give us salary information for the Ministry of Justice going back. And then you miss a code that changed along the way.
And is that where we experience that when, let's say, Antec dumped information,
Correct.
you realized in your scanning that pockets of information was
Correct.
missing? There is where the Ministry of Finance gave us the approval to be able to allow you the access which you have now
Yes.
to go in on your own and extract that information
Correct.
and fill it in for staff where it was missing, right?
Yeah, correct. And the reason why this is so difficult for the average person is because we're talking about a year worth of data is over 95,000 lines of code. We're talking about meticulous data, and being able to, house that data in an Excel sheet, it would crash. So we would have to put it into a most robust system. Then making the links between it, meaning you have to go through it line item by line item to make that link for that employee, that salary, what happened, make the data speak the truth of what happened for that employee. Did they receive retroactive payments, yes or no? What premiums did they contribute? What allowances did they receive? And those things make a difference on the front end. Because if the salary information revealed that they had, for instance, an allowance that's percentage based, that's based on the percentage of your salary that you receive at that time.
Right.
So now you have a new salary. I have to input that same allowance into your new salary. But if there's a paper trail is missing in your employee file, that doesn't reflect that you received that allowance, but the salary slip shows it, then at least we have the salary information as leading in this story. So that we can say, hey guys, we might be missing the document that says you received an allowance, but the salary slip shows this. So then that information is then now accounted for. A 25% allowance makes a big difference in the end figure for that individual. So accuracy is key.
Very key.
And then ultimately, the individual wants to be rest assured by seeing the numbers, making it, next to their pay slips, what they may or may not have, because that is something that we've encountered too. We've all gone through hurricanes. We've lost lots of data, precious to us to be able to account for our own financial history. The same thing we've realized in having conversations with staff.
Yes.
So now we are going back and printing over pay slips for them so that they can be rest assured that the pay slips, the numbers, and the calculations are all saying the same story.
Which is what I explained not too long ago, that the staff themselves are taking the time to be able to go through all this information to make sure it's accurate. And so if we can't be on the ball about it, then the staff will lose confidence that what we are providing to them or presenting to them is accurate. And we don't want that. I want to be ensured that the information is correct.
Yes.
And also, for Saskia's reputation, she wants to make sure that when SOAB audits this, that it doesn't blemish her name because she did something wrong. So it's really an intense process.
For me.
Saskia, thank you so much. I don't know if there's any final statements you want to make about it, because I know it's a lot.
Yes, I would say one thing. The amount of data is equivalent to a census. That's the amount of data we're talking about. So we're basically auditing a census and asking it to be produced within a day.
Yeah.
So we have to just be mindful of that and understand that accuracy is key in this process for myself, but more importantly for the person that's on the end of this. And I'm one and foremost a civil servant, and my goal is to make sure that everyone gets what is fair, due, and correct, to justify every action that we take and make sure that it's done in the right way.
Well, that was the journey that I wanted to take you on as to what's happening behind the scenes. I think it's really important that staff, for example, is not going to be able to come here and see what's happening, but staff want to know what is happening. So what better way than to bring it to you, that you can review this. Thank you for your time and your opportunity to showcase this to you. And I just want to say a special thank you to stmartinnews.com for giving us the opportunity.